Can you tell our listeners what brings you two together?
I think there's a lot of synergy there. We had a chance to meet 2 years ago, and quite candidly, every day that I've talked to him, he just impresses me more. I think we have a lot of commonality in financial literacy, education, moving the community, doing something good for people.
And I think as we continued to get to know each other, we started expressing the importance of financial literacy and how important it was to me, especially growing up. I was lucky enough to have those kind of conversations with my mother and my father. And it's funny when kids look at sports, or when people look at sports and they use education as the secondary measure. What I mean by that is, oh, well, you can always fall back on your education. Right. And the way I grew up was, oh, you can always fall back on the sport. Right. But throughout my journeys, I've met so many kids and people who weren't as fortunate and who really struggle with how to build a foundation and actually have a formula for success later in their lives. So for us to come together on something like this, especially visions, for a point guard in the NBA, you have to have vision. Right. I think in order to be financially successful, you have to have a vision. Yeah. So that's where it starts.
What advice can you give to young people, or what advice can you give to even folks who are, my age, mid-20s, when it comes to
I know. Oh, see, I told you a lot older.
I'm 21, yeah. No, I'm
His
kidding.
birthday's next month. So it's mine, actually.
Yeah.
Not only focusing on one dream, but keeping in mind financial independence and what that means to their future.
My question for anybody that's younger, that's trying to find a way, who's on your board? Designate 4 or 5 people that you really trust and actually put yourself in a vulnerable situation and solicit their advice and listen to them.
Those values are what makes us, especially at Visions, to celebrate. I think the more different thought we bring, the better products will come up. There'll always be someone in the room who could think of something I would have never thought of because I don't need it, right? So that's what you have to engage. You have to spend time around individuals here like the Urban League. I love visiting the Urban League. I love everyone who's part of it because they're always challenging me to think broader and bigger than what I'm doing. And when I think I'm doing enough, they remind me there's more to be done.
I think actually the motto is everything, right? Life is unscripted. And I think that really fits into how my life, at 33 years old, I thought I would have been going on my 14th year in the NBA right now. But here I am as a broadcaster, building my way up the ladder in that capacity. And to spend time with those kids today. I mean, that's the real mission, right? How do you change their perspective on how they see their future?
At what point would you say, like you were saying earlier, what do they have to consider and keep in mind for backup plans for the future?
I like to see you lead this one first. And I guess something even I haven't asked you was that moment when you started trying to come back and you realized that you couldn't, and how did you know to stop working on coming back and then transitioning to the next part of your life? So that's part of the plan, so I'd like to hear that.
I think that sometimes we get so consumed with what we're trying to achieve, we don't look at the possibilities that are right around us. Prime example, like we're both in a room with you, right? So what I was fortunate enough to have guys like Wayne, who's in the back room, my father and my mother, who helped me build a plan.
I think those are the things that are special, and we have a lot of different groups in this town to do that. And a lot of it from that rich legacy history that I know some people are missing or mourning, but it's still here, it's still in our DNA,
It is.
and we should celebrate that.